If you exist in the world, maybe you've heard about the distinction between hard science and soft science. Maybe you have or haven't thought about where that idea came from. Let's unpack it. In 2002, Joan Cassell wrote an article called Perturbing the System, Hard Science, Soft Science, and Social Science, the Anxiety and Madness of Method. Their abstract reads, objective research is ill-equipped to deal with emotion-laden topics such as terminal illness, dying, and death. I am confronted daily with these issues during my current fieldwork in a hospital intensive care unit, ICU. Physicians are biased towards methods claiming to be scientific, and many medical sociologists conspire to satisfy this predilection. When unable to conduct hypothesis-driven research, they strive to be value-neutral and objective in the field, thus avoiding the Hawthorne effect. But why bother when the Heisenberg effect still holds? A phallic metaphor valorizes hard science as masculine while denigrating soft science as feminine. This paper examines and critiques the notion of value-neutral social research where objectivity is equated with scientific legitimacy. A field worker can learn more from perturbing the system than from pretending to be an invisible fly on the wall. Again, that was 20 years ago. But what are we saying about it in the last 5? Well, in June 22, Stephen Shapin wrote Hard Science, Soft Science, A Political History of a Disciplinary Array. In their abstract, they wrote, a distinction between the hard and soft scientific disciplines is a modern commonplace, widely invoked to contrast the natural and the social sciences and to distribute value accordingly, where it was generally agreed that it was good to be hard, bad to be soft. I trace the emergence of the distinction to institutional and political circumstances in the United States in the second part of the 20th century. I describe varying academic efforts to give the contrast coherent meaning. I note the distinction's uses and disciplines' reflections on their own present and possible future status, and I document the consequential circulation of the antonym in settings where resources for science were distributed. To follow the history of the hard-soft distinction is to open a window on changing sensibilities about what science is, what values are attached to it, and what it is for. I conclude with speculations about more recent changes in the value schemes implicated in the hard and the soft, and about pertinent changes in the place of the soft human sciences in governance and production. I envisage a possible future in which the commonplace distinction might wither away. A couple months later in 2022, someone named Marshall Shepard wrote, it's time to retire the terms hard and soft science. They said, in a previous Forbes essay, I urged the academic private sector and federal enterprises to banish the term minorities when referring to certain underrepresented groups in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. I made an argument that this term was microaggressive and minimized groups unintentionally. This week, I heard some refer to a particular discipline as a soft science, and it evoked a similar twinge of microaggression. Here's why I argue we must retire terminology that refers to science disciplines as though they were ice cream or candy. I know, this terminology has been around forever. As I have grown older and hopefully wiser, I have come to realize that longevity is often a measure of an inertia for the status quo rather than right or wrong. Traditionally, people have referred to things like physics, chemistry, astronomy, climatology, or biology as hard sciences. Heck, I'm an atmospheric scientist, so my discipline falls into the category too. From my observations, a discipline is considered a hard science if it is extremely mathematical, involves certain methodological approaches, or has more replicable results. Behavioral and social sciences, which might include sociology, human geography, psychology, or communication studies, have typically been called soft sciences. Digging into this a bit more, I found that others have argued for this ivory tower prehistoric framing to be put to rest. A late 1980s analysis by Larry Hedges was entitled, How Hard is Hard Science? How Soft is Soft Science? He revealed many similarities among the methodologies within the disciplines, as well as the ways the various methodologies complement each other. A key point in his concluding section argued that social science research may not be less cumulative than physical or natural sciences. While that is an important finding, my interactions with human geographers in my department at the University of Georgia and colleagues within emerging areas of atmospheric sciences causes me to consume even that information differently. What if it was less cumulative? Does that make it less important? There are mixed methods for conducting research and trends toward interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, and transdisciplinary collaboration. Then they just referred to other possible word analogies like a fruit salad or a smoothie or something. And then they said, I have 3 degrees in meteorology and physical meteorology, but my home department at the University of Georgia is geography. When I left NASA in 2005, there were options on the table for me at more traditional atmospheric sciences or meteorology departments. However, I was increasingly finding myself collaborating with human geographers, psychologists, or communication experts. Some of my most exciting scholarly output has come from outside of my meteorology or climate silo. These studies have been at the intersections of atmospheric sciences and topics including risk, vulnerability, equity, and communication. Those intersections to me are more reflective of the world that we live in today. Then they give some examples of their cross-collaboration. Which brings me back to this hard and soft science discussion. A 2004 blog entry at Utah State University asked, what's the gripe between hard and soft sciences? The debate rages on. It chronicled the story of a student who wanted to transfer to a hard sciences department because she felt they were more important. Don't underestimate the psychological influence hard versus soft can have on a student. The blog made some valid points about certain scientists believing their science is the only important or rigorous discipline and becoming, they really mean ignorant of their own biases. By the way, that's not very scientific. Candidly, many meteorologists and climate scientists have faced such biases and arrogance from other disciplinary corners, but I will save that discussion for a future essay. I will acknowledge that this is likely a big ship to turn. Online dictionaries even have entries for terms like soft sciences. Here's what I do know. The generational challenges facing society today, like global pandemics, climate change, food insecurity, water supply, and energy generation, will not be addressed in narrow disciplines. And they certainly will not be addressed from a position of hubris either. Humility will be required, as well as a mutual respect for all scholarly disciplines.